Good day, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. But before we start our lesson, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and also click the notification bell to get updated in my latest videos. Now let's go to the lesson. So our lesson for today is the use of basic tools in embroidery. In 1.1, basic tools and materials in embroidery are identified. In 1.2, different embroidery stitches are performed based on given steps. And 1.3, proper use of tools is observed. But before we start, let's have a test first. Let's determine how much you already know about the use of basic tools and stitches in embroidery. I will give you time to answer. Done? Now let's have a recall. Development of Philippine embroidery. Embroidery is the craft of decorating fabric or other materials using a needle to apply a thread or yarn. The word embroidery comes from the French word broderie, meaning embellishment. In various forms, embroidery has existed since the production of fabric. While embroidery is practiced across the world, its origin stems from China and the Near East. Embroidery was introduced into the Orient by the Netherlanders in the 15th century. It was brought by the Spaniards into the Philippines, where it has made a wonderful growth, and the work done, it rivals the best work done in Switzerland, a country noted for its exquisite embroidery. Embroidery reached its highest development during the Middle Ages. The nuns in the convents were the first to make articles with embroidery work during their leisure time. Since then, it became so popular that women started to enjoy it, creating designs of their own. In the beginning, embroideries were done by hand, but since the advent of technology and the invention of sewing machine, people are now engaged in machine embroidery. Today's most contemporary is stitched with a computerized embroidery machine using patterns that are digitized with computer software. While the style and technique of embroidery may be different from its ancient roots, much of the purpose and use of embroidery remains the same. So for the learning outcome, number 1, basic tools in embroidery. Number 1, tape measure. Used for measuring more than 1 foot distance or materials. Number 2, thimbles. Made from metal or plastic. Protect the middle finger and push the needle while drawing your embroidery work. This comes in sizes 6 or small to 12 large. 3, embroidery hoop or stiletto. Made of wood, bone, metal, or plastic used to make eyelets in fabric to be embroidered. It is also used to keep the fabric stretched while embroidery stitches are applied to the design. 4, embroidery scissors. Is small, sharp, and pointed good for fine work use for trimming scallops, clipping threads, and cutting large eyelets. 5, the needle threader. Is used for easier threading, especially those sewers with poor eyesight. 6, embroidery needle. A short piece of steel with a fine point at one end and a little opening or eye at the other. Crewel. Sizes 1 to 10 are sharp pointed, medium length with large eyes for easy threading and are used for most standard embroidery stitchery. 7, chenille needle. Sizes 13 to 26 are also sharp pointed needles, but they are thicker and longer and have larger eyes. They are the types of needles appropriate for embroidery that is worked with heavier yarns. 8. Tapestry needle is sized from 13 to 26. They are similar in size to channel but are blunt than sharp. This makes them best for thread counting embroidery and the needle point as well. 9. Watercolor brush, used for transferring the design using pricking and bouncing methods. 10. Tracing paper, used for tracing designs. 10. Sewing box, used to keep together the embroidery tools and materials. 12. Fabric, sometimes referred to as a cloth, are a great variety and they differ in material, weight, weave, design, color, and finish. 13. Thread is available in various types. They differ in terms of texture, fiber, content, number of strands, and colors. Threads are usually coded in numbers and color names. The color of the thread should suit the color and the texture of the design and the fabric to be embroidered. 14. Pinking shears has a jagged edge used for cutting woven cloth, and this keeps the edges of fabric from unraveling as you work with it. 15. Fabric tack glue. It adheres permanently to wood and fabric and dries clear and fast. Great for securing knots or loose thread ends. 16. Iron and ironing board, used to press fabric before you embroider. Use a steam iron with multiple temperature settings for best results. 7. Tweezers. Slanted edges are very useful tool for removing threads remains after unpicking. 18. Water-soluble pen, a special kind of pen used in transferring embroidery design. 19. Pins. Top quality stainless pins with no rust are important. 20. Seam ripper. It makes unpicking so much easier in the event of making a mistake. Used for ripping the stitches for cases when you commit a stitching mistake. Materials. Number 1. Fabric, sometimes referred to as cloth, are great a variety and they differ in material, weight, weave, design, color, and finish. Types of fabric weaves. 1. Common weave includes most tightly woven fabrics and with a relatively smooth surface like linen, wool, and cotton. They are best used for articles with decorative stitches. Number 2. Even weave are intended for hard dangler embroidery since the number of threads per square inch is same for both warp and woof. 3. Basket weave is commonly used by beginners and rami linen by those who have been used to this embroidery. It supplies guidelines for cross-stitch and smocking, having an evenly spaced pattern like gingham cloth and polka dots. Proper care of embroidery thread. As one of the most essential elements to the stitching process, it is important to ensure proper and careful care of embroidery thread. Store it properly under controlled conditions to avoid the following issues. 1. Thread dents. When a cone falls onto the floor and the point of impact can dent the thread, resulting a weak spot that can ultimately lead to a problem as the thread travels toward the needle. This is a common problem for those that store unused cones on top of their machine. Those unused cones will walk across the machine table due to the vibration of sewing and ultimately end up on the floor. 2. Discoloring and fading threads, especially rayon, will fade when exposed to sunlight for extended periods of time. If you have threads are stored on a windowsill or anywhere that sunlight can strike them full force, you risk fading and discoloring. 3. Lint buildup. When the thread travels through the upper thread path, it takes the curd with it, dispensing it along the way onto critical surfaces and need to remain clean and smooth. 4. Brittleness. Excessive exposure to sunlight can dry out thread and lead to brittleness in the fibers. This will weaken the thread and lead to excessive thread breaks. Now let's dig in. Write a short answer on the questions below. Put your answer on the activity or quiz notebook. I will give you time to answer. Now let's remember, doing embroidery is a beautiful creative output, which makes everything even more worthwhile. It doesn't have to be difficult, however, like any other crafts, there are certain things that need to be considered when doing embroidery to ensure quality. Embroidery is no less than art. You have to be creative on one side, and on the other hand, you have to use all the necessary tools and materials so that you can turn your imagination into real life design works. Embroidery tools and materials are known as those sort of elements which are the prerequisites for performing the embroidery works. Always remember, the more tools you have, the more attractive your embroidery designs will be. So let's have a performance task. Make a portfolio of different tools needed in creating embroidered articles. Be guided with the rubrics below. Now let's check your progress. Fill in the blanks. Write your answers in your notebook. I will give you time to answer. Now let's have your performance task number 2. Search and collect samples of different types of fabric and thread. Attach the fabric on a sheet or in your practical pile. 3. Put the samples of thread in a transparent pouches. Attach the pouches on the sheet or in the practical file. 5. Label the name of the fabrics and threads. And there you have it! That is lesson 1. I hope you learned something. Always remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and always click the notification bell to get updated in my latest videos. See you next time!